What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wizards of Amazon podcast, where we cover all things private label. My name is Carlos Alvarez, and I'll be your host for the show. Today, I have a very special guest on, Monica Louie. Monica, how's it going?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited for this.
Definitely. Monica, we first met, I don't know if we crossed paths at other events, but we first met at Brand Accelerator Live, a couple months ago?
Yeah. That was such a fun event. I loved it.
Yeah, and you actually spoke at that event. I think I still owe you like an Airbnb, I mean, not an Airbnb, Uber fee or something like that. I think it was like
I don't know
10 bucks
about
or
that, but
something.
we had a great time. It was such an amazing event, amazing people. I felt like I made so many friends that weekend. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. After hearing you speak and I think Kevin being generous enough to connect us, which was amazing of Kevin, I I knew that I needed to, when this podcast was released, to have you on, at least in the very beginning. And I really have no doubt that you'll be a frequent guest of the show. You are like the queen of Facebook ads. So you have an amazing course, you have an amazing business, and you're a genius at this. Can you, before we dive too deep into Facebook ads, for my listeners that don't know you, a little bit about yourself, maybe pre-Facebook ads and how you got into that?
Sure. So yeah, I started off, just kind of following the corporate path. I, went to college, graduated, got a corporate job, and thought that I was going to do that for about 40 years and get really good at that one thing. And then when I got married and started growing my family, I realized that my priorities were changing, and I wanted more freedom and flexibility in my schedule. And I knew that there had to be a way that I could make money from home, but be in charge of my schedule and not have to commute to downtown and all that comes with that, and put my kids in daycare. So I really was looking for freedom and flexibility. And that's when I started to learn about blogging and online business. And I didn't really know what I could offer, though, at that point, what I had to share. But in order to set ourselves up to be in a good place where I could eventually leave my job, my husband and I started to build up our savings, and we paid off a little bit of debt, and we just knew we had to be more intentional with our finances. And so I ended up leaving my job in May of 2013 when I was pregnant with my daughter, and my son was almost 2. And um, and then at that time, like we thought we were being smart, we'd saved up some money, but a couple months in, we saw that our savings had started to dip, and I realized that I needed to figure it out. If I wanted to be at home, I didn't want to cause financial strain for my family, and I didn't want to have to go back to work when I had a newborn. So I decided to dive into the personal finance world, and that's when I learned that people were not only staying afloat on a single income, but a lot of people were paying off a lot of debt really quickly. So that really inspired us to pay off a lot of debt. We felt that we'd be much more, financially secure without the debt, and much more in control of our finances. So long story short, we ended up paying off $120,000 of debt in
Wow.
2 years on a single middle class income. And so that kind of spurred me into starting a blog about our debt-free journey and inspiring others to create a plan and get out of debt themselves. And through that process, I fell in love with Facebook ads and online business, online marketing, and ended up having really great success with my first couple of campaigns to help grow my blog. And so from there, people that I was starting to build a relationship with in the personal finance community online started asking me for help with their Facebook ads. And I found that I really loved helping other people build their businesses and helping them. And I really loved Facebook ads in particular, and working with different people and different strategies. We were getting amazing results, and I was just having so much fun. So by the end of 2016, I ended up selling my blog and diving into Facebook ads coaching initially. So I was doing private coaching, just one-on-one, working with people, helping them with their campaigns. And then, word spread and demand grew really quickly. So in fall of 2017, I created my course, Flourish with Facebook ads, to help more people learn Facebook ads and how to create high converting campaigns to grow their online businesses. And then at that point, people started reaching out for me to manage their ads for them. And there were people who, had 7-figure businesses that were reaching out. And I was like, well, at this point, this stage in the game, it makes sense for you to outsource your ads. So I started to grow my team. And so now over the last, almost 2 years, we've been growing our agency. And so we have a team of total 9 people right now. And we manage Facebook ads for online business owners. We still have the course that we keep updated and have a growing student population there. And then, when opportunities come up, I do coaching, consulting, and speaking as well.
Wow. That's a lot. I think that's a lot to unpack. First of all, like the job you had, just out of curiosity, prior to making the transition, was it like finance related or anything that you carried some of those skills over to learn how to pay off 120,000 in debt in 2 years?
Yeah, so I worked in financial services. I worked in retirement plan administration. And so I always loved numbers and spreadsheets and all of that, but it wasn't like personal finance budgeting. So I had to dive in and, figure out like how to apply that to our family expenses, our family finances. And so while I did love numbers and spreadsheets, which helps with the analytical side of Facebook ads to this day,
Definitely.
that's where I dove in. I was like, we've got to create a plan. Yeah.
That is insane. I feel like it could be an entire episode just on how you pay off 120,000 in 2 years on one middle income salary. That's insane. Well,
Yeah.
kudos for doing that. And do you ever regret the path, like heading, full blown all in on Facebook instead of, helping people, let's say, 'cause I guess that would have been the other path, right? Helping people get out of debt.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I was going down that path, I looked at I was building my network in the personal finance community, and I saw the people that were farther along in their businesses, and they were like these personal finance experts who were on TV, and writing articles. And while like that looked exciting and kind of glamorous, it just didn't feel right. Like that was the right path for me.
Mhm.
And then once I got a taste of working with other entrepreneurs and helping them grow and reach more people, then that's where I got really excited about helping other people build up their businesses so they can help more people. So I still to this day have connections with the personal finance community. A couple of my clients are still in the personal finance space. But now I get to help people in a whole bunch of different ways. So my team and I will always talk about how we help people help people. And so like we are always focused on the ripple effect that like we love it when we get great results with our ads, but what does that mean? It means that we're helping a business owner grow their audience and grow their email list and drive more sales. And so we, not only get to help our clients build their businesses, but also, the people, the customers, the clients that they serve, they are helping them as well.
Absolutely. That sounds awesome. You mentioned something else in the beginning about working with a 7-figure business and maybe where that business was at that point, that it was a good idea to, I don't know, sub that out or contract that work out to an agency. When do you feel, and like, what's the ingredients going on in a business where that becomes the better play?
Yeah. So I think it depends on if you have an interest in learning Facebook ads, which I think even if you don't really have an interest, if that doesn't excite you like it excites me, I think that you should have an understanding of it. So you should have that knowledge. You should understand the terminology. You should understand what goes into creating a campaign that converts versus, why something doesn't really hit the mark. So I think you should have that understanding before you outsource your ads. But when you're at that level where your time is better spent on the overall big picture and being in the CEO role and, creating the direction for the company and not being so much in the weeds, that's when it's a good time to outsource your ads. And when, of course, you've already got that path to profit that's already converting well for you, that's a great time to fuel the fire with Facebook ads.
Okay. So basically you have the funds and you can step away from it. You can wear a different hat, or you just realize you totally hate it. And I guess it's better to hire that out than to fumble around doing something you hate, which is probably going to translate to bad ads, right?
Well, yeah, I do want to say though, like as I mentioned, I think it's smart to understand it. And so a lot of my clients, like they will start off with learning the ads themselves, but then realizing they don't really have the time and attention and energy to focus on it and understand, keep up with all the changes that are happening. And so then that's when it's a good time to outsource the ads. But I definitely think every business owner who's running ads should have an understanding of how they work.
Absolutely. I was telling you before we started the show, like and this applies to Excel, Google Sheets, Amazon PPC, Facebook ads, Google. I'm not a data, like, I understand the power of it. I force myself to do it. I'd like to think I'm really good at a lot of those different ad types, but a small part of me dies inside anytime I know that, like, the creative side of me, the entrepreneur, I just do not like it. So getting something like that off my plate was like one of the first things I did with Facebook ads. And I use Facebook ads effectively for my local businesses, my e-com businesses. I mean, a little cool one was one of the dance studios, we just target off relationship status or something like that. So if somebody like in an adult Latin dance studio, like if you're single, we'd target you for ads. Or if you got into a relationship, we didn't target you. If you got engaged, we were able to send certain types of ads for, like, you know, bride and groom type dances and stuff. So, I mean, Facebook ads are scary powerful. So I get it.
I love it. See, that's the kind of thinking, you know, that strategy, like that's what gets me really excited, is thinking along those lines about who's going to be the right person for this type of offer. And then, you know, if you have a different kind of avatar, what kind of language, what kind of offer is going to speak to them?
Yeah. What would you, in your experience, say some of the biggest pitfalls or losses that people have when they're starting Facebook ads, and they're just like, because I hear it, I don't know if you hear it a lot too, but someone starts doing some Facebook ads and they say, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for my product. It doesn't work for my industry. It's not for me. It's for other people. Like, what do you think someone needs to get clear on to not run into that issue?
Well, I do hear that all the time, so much so that I did an entire podcast episode about it. So we were talking about how earlier this year, I also launched my podcast, the Flourish to Seven Figures podcast. And I did an episode. I'll give you the URL so you can plug it into your show notes if you'd like.
Definitely.
But I did an episode on 8 reasons why Facebook ads don't work. And basically it is breaking down, you know, all of the things that if your Facebook ad isn't working, or, you know, people are just so quick to say, oh, I tried it and it didn't work. You know, first of all, if you hear somebody else say that and somebody is, you know, being all skeptical about Facebook ads, then the episode really takes you through understanding, like, that you don't know the whole picture, and they might not even know how Facebook ads actually do work and how to create a high converting campaign. So there are a lot of different variables that come into play. The biggest one, though, like the biggest mistake that I see people make, is that they will dabble with Facebook ads, and they will, you know, boost a post. They will try it out. They will think that they're, you know, being strategic, when really they're not really thinking about the big picture. And they're not really thinking about how Facebook ads are going to help them with their goal, and really getting clear on what their goal actually is. So a lot of times people will be like, oh, that sounds like a good idea, but really it's a shiny object where they just get started with Facebook ads. They, like, their first, you know, the first day or two or week or whatever, like, it didn't convert as well as they hoped. And so they just decide to turn it off. They think they're wasting their money, but they don't really do the testing and get the education that they need in order to learn and understand what actually goes into a campaign that converts. So there are 3 pillars of high converting campaigns. So when I was starting out and I was learning Facebook ads for myself, and then starting to work with others in creating campaigns with them, when I started to pay attention to, you know, what happens when we really hit it out of the park, and then what is missing when things don't go as planned. You know, something doesn't work as well as we wanted it to. And really it comes down to these 3 things. So the first one is that you've got to have an amazing offer. So whatever you're offering in your ad, it can be as simple as, you know, your product. It can be that you are driving traffic to a blog post. It can be a video that you just want to get more views on. Maybe it's like a brand awareness video that kind of introduces your product. So whatever the offer is, it has to be something that people actually want. And so if you are not getting the traction that you want with your campaign, it could be that you just need to reposition your offer, you know, position it in a different way. And then the second piece is that you need to get that offer in front of the right audience. So you've got to be targeting the people who are interested in your offer, or likely to be interested in your offer. And that can be a big piece where, maybe you've got an amazing offer, but you need some tweaking with your targeting in order to find the people on Facebook who are likely to be interested and actually take the action that you want them to take. And then the third piece is that your ad has to grab attention. So the ad is what you're presenting, in the news feed, in order to entice people to take action. But first of all, it's got to grab attention. And so if your ad is just ho-hum, like maybe you're presenting a great offer and you're getting in front of the right people, but your ad isn't getting the attention that it needs in order to entice people to take action, then that's where your results can fall flat. And if you think about Facebook, it's a very busy place. There are a lot of things happening, a lot of things competing for your attention, notifications, newsfeed posts, groups that you're part of, lots of things competing for your attention. And so you want your ad to stand out.
It sounds simple, like just 3, that's it. 3 to like magic. But as you're going through them, I'm kind of like still stuck on 1 and then I'm on 2 and you're finishing 3. There's a lot to that, right? So like when you say just number 1, that you want to have the right offer, have a great offer, that can get complicated, right? Like, 'cause there's copy involved. Are you talking about the picture, the video, or like what makes a good offer? Like what's the great ingredients to a good offer?
Well, so understanding what's going to resonate it comes down to understanding your audience. So your ideal customer. So what is it that they want, and understanding their pain points. And so presenting the offer in a way that addresses their pain points is going to grab their attention. So it could also be something that's entertaining. If it's a video, something that's funny, something that grabs attention, that can help to grab their attention initially. But the offer really comes down to addressing what they need and what problem they want to solve.
This is not rehearsed at all. So this is kind of on the spot. So if you don't know this is fine. But like, do you have an example maybe that you can draw on where, I'm sure you get this, somebody had an offer that like, this is not working. And then you were able to present it better, or maybe in a better light, to then be a great offer. Like maybe they were missing something and they weren't speaking to their audience, so to speak. Do you have any examples of that? Like,
Yeah. So a, it could be like switching up the headline. So the headline in the ad is the larger text that appears underneath the image or the video in the ad. And so maybe your offer is like, uh, something I see a lot is like, I'm trying to think of something that I've seen where it's like very vague about what the offer actually is. So it's like, don't do this anymore or something like that. But maybe the offer is like a free workshop. So I like to be very clear in the headline, free workshop, 3 ways to, sell more on Amazon or
oh
something
yeah,
like that.
absolutely.
So like, it's like where it's very clear what the offer is so that people see right away, like, okay, that's speaking to me and that's something that I'm interested in. Because a lot of times like the image or video will first catch their attention, but a lot of times like the headline will keep them engaged.
That makes sense. And number two on the pillar about, I guess if I'm wording this right, targeting the right people. That's what we're coming down to, right?
Yes.
I hear this a lot in my meetup group, and I talk about the power of Facebook ads, and somebody will come up to me and say, well, look, I sell, I sell silicone baking mats. How about that? Like I sell silicone baking mats. I don't see an option there for interest that says silicone baking mats. What do you say to that?
Yes. Okay. So this is something that I find a lot of people, when they're starting off with Facebook ads, they will start with trying to do the interest targeting, the detailed targeting, like you're mentioning. So that's where you go into the create audience screen, and in the detailed targeting section, it's this little field where you can just enter keywords. And so like somebody might be searching for like baking mat and, try to find people who are interested in baking mats. So a lot of times people will start there, but I think that a better place to start is by creating lookalike audiences. So to back it up a little bit, there are 3 main types of audiences that you can create. And so the first one is called custom audiences. So these are the warm audiences, people who already know you in some way. So that could be like your Facebook fans, people who engage with your Facebook page, your email list, your list of customers, your website visitors. So if you have the Facebook pixel installed on your website, which you absolutely should. Then you can create an audience of people who visited your website, whether or not they purchased from you, whether or not they actually opted in to your newsletter to stay in touch with you, whether or not they even liked your Facebook page. So you can create those audiences of people who've already interacted with you and your brand in some way. And then my favorite type of audience is the lookalike audience. So that's where you take any of those audiences and you tell Facebook that you want to find more people like them. So like if we already have a list of customers who've bought our silicone baking mat, then we can upload our customer list into Facebook. And then we can say, Facebook, I want to find more people like them who live in the United States. And you have to give Facebook a region when creating the lookalike audience. So that can be a country, that can be an area, but you've got to give it a location. So we say, I want to find more people who are like my customers in the United States, and Facebook will create an audience of people who are like them. It'll look at the people on your customer list and it'll look at their similarities, what things they have in common, their demographics, all those things. And it'll kind of create a profile around them. And it'll create an audience. When you say create a lookalike audience, it'll create a lookalike audience of people who are like the people who are already buying from you. And so that's my favorite place to start when it comes to targeting, because if we've already got a product that's selling, we've already got a customer list, then we want to find more people who are like them, who are more likely to buy our baking mats.
Absolutely.
So that's where I start.
And what would you say? 'Cause I know I'm going to get this. As soon as this episode comes out, people in my group are going to come up to me and say, yeah, but Carlos, you said I should start selling this thing. And I started selling it. I don't have a website. I don't have website visitors yet. I have a product. I'm going to put it on my website and I sell on Amazon. I don't have a custom audience to start with.
Okay.
What would be your magic there?
That's where I start with the detailed targeting. So if we're starting from scratch, and even when like we work with clients, we will test out lookalike audiences, and then we'll create generally like 1 or 2 audiences based around detailed targeting. So that's where we're searching in the keywords. So think about, your ideal audience member. You might have different avatars. So it might be like the mom that likes to bake. It might be the baker, the business owner who needs your mats for their business. And so think about like the different avatars that you have, and then create an audience around each avatar. And so get clear on what other pages are they following? What other brands are they following? So maybe there's like a baking blog that's really popular that you can search in that field and see if they come up. And then once you start entering in a couple of your keywords and interests and other brands that your audience is likely already following, then you can hit the suggestions button that you'll see right there in that field. And Facebook will start to give you other suggestions, other ideas that of targeting elements that might be in alignment with the audience that you're creating. Don't just pick everything that you see. You really need to make sure that you're researching. If you've never heard of a brand, or a name that comes up there, make sure it's actually in alignment, because sometimes things sound like it's related, but it's totally different. So make sure that you're doing your research and selecting things that are actually going to be a fit for that audience. And then also my other piece of advice there is don't commingle your avatars. So create one audience around that, like the mom who likes to bake with her kids. And then the other, like create another audience for like the business owner who needs the baking mats for their business.
And with the mom that buys for the kids, would you even break that down into age groups, like mom between this age and this age, and then this age and this age, or at first you would just moms? Like,
yeah, generally I like to keep the age groups broad to start. And then as you start running your ads, the algorithm will pay attention to which age groups are converting the best. And then you'll see eventually that it'll start to give more reach to those age groups that are converting the best. So I let the algorithm really kind of manage that initially when I'm first starting out with a brand new audience. Then once I see that like, okay, well, the majority of the people interacting, from this audience are between the ages of 25 and 54, then in future campaigns, I might narrow that audience to 25 to 54.
okay, that makes sense. And the third pillar, which had to do with, I guess, the creative. Am I getting that right? The creative of the actual ad.
Yes.
How do you go about approaching? Should this be a static image? Should it be a gallery? Should it be a video? How much should I like? What goes into that?
Yes. Well, I definitely we test it all. So, depending on what your offer is. So a lot of times the static image ads are just the easiest and fastest to get up and running. So we'll generally start there. And stock photos work great if you've got photos of people, photography that you have of people using your product. Then you can definitely use those. But if you don't have that yet, stock photos work really well for us. But so starting there, the image can be the first ad to get up and running. But I definitely test video. If you can create a video, test video. But again, it kind of depends on your offer. So what we've found where we drive traffic to blog posts, we can get the cost per click down super cheap in most cases. So when we do that with our clients, we find that static image ads work the best for that strategy, just because people are used to clicking over from Facebook and reading a blog post, that we don't need to grab their attention with flashing lights and a video and a carousel ad. We don't want to distract them too much in the ad. We want to keep a very simple ad where people are just, instinctually clicking over to read the blog post. We want them engaging there. But if for other offers, so if we're promoting a product, or even promoting our newsletter or our lead magnet to grow our email list, then that's where we'll test a static image versus a video ad versus maybe a carousel, which is where we have the multiple images or videos, or a slideshow ad can create that little bit of movement. We do find that GIFs work really well, or video ads where there's that little bit of movement that can help to grab attention.
Okay, that's a lot. The two other things on this. One of them has to do with how do you go about deciding how much to spend? I hear this a lot. And then once you've spent that, you have now all this data to look at. Like what's the most important pieces to look at to determine success or failure?
Yeah. Well, I like to start with spending as little as possible to get the results that we need. So we have data to look at, like you said, so then we can see what's working and where we might need to make some tweaks. So again, depending on the strategy. So if we're driving traffic to a blog post, so let's say, we have like a gift guide of 10 great gifts for whoever your avatar is, and one of them happens to be your product. Then we just want to drive traffic to that blog post so that we can build up this audience of people who are likely interested in our product and want to do that for a very low cost. Then that's where for each different version of the ad that I'm testing and each different audience, so each different ad and audience combination that I'm testing. So let's say I'm testing a lookalike audience of my buyers, my customers, with my static image ad with this image, then I will start at a minimum $5 a day for that. But then if I'm going to have 3 different versions of my ad with that audience, then that would be $15 a day.
Okay.
That's a minimum. I mean, if you have more to put toward it, then, $5, $10 a day per version. If we're driving traffic to get people into the sales funnel or grow our email list or go direct to our product, then I would do $10 a day for each different version. And then I like to start small with the budget so that we can get that data, but you don't want to start too small. You want to get enough. I've heard people talk about, $1 a day, and really that's not going to get you very much data
No.
very quickly. It's going to take a while. And it's also going to take the algorithm a while to learn what's working as well. So the algorithm is super sophisticated that over time it's learning who's resonating with the ad. So even though you're selecting the audiences, Facebook will then see who within your audience is resonating with the ad and taking the action that you want them to take. And then it'll show it to more of those people within that audience who are likely to take that action. So over time, the algorithm gets smarter and your costs generally will decrease as the algorithm itself is getting data. So then setting up the campaign.
What is, I'm
This,
sorry, so you would
yes.
suggest even if somebody had a budget for $100 a day and they were just starting in this scenario, you would still suggest maybe say those 3 ads, $10 a day to get some data. And then I guess to avoid just the whole throwing something at the wall and seeing what sticks approach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have $100 a day to spend, then I would test at least 3 to 5 different audiences, and then maybe, 2 or 3 different versions of the ad. So the more budget you have to work with, then the more you can test up front. And so when we have larger budgets to work with our clients, then we'll test more. But then again, we want to have room to scale. So, but we like to start with the minimum for each of our tests, and then we'll, turn off what's not working and scale up what is.
Okay.
So, yeah. So really, I mean, generally I suggest anywhere from like $20 to $35 a day to start with. That'll give you a few tests. But if you have more, then I would set up more tests.
Okay, absolutely. That's awesome. So that covers the spend. What about the reports? Or was there anything else to add on the spend?
Yeah. So Facebook, last I was told from Facebook, that come February, campaign budget optimization, which sounds like a big scary thing. But that's basically the setup for the campaign, that's going to be our only option. So, right now we have the option of doing ad set level budgeting. So that means that when you're creating your campaign inside the campaign, so we set up one offer per campaign. So this campaign might be for driving traffic to our blog post. Another campaign might be to grow our email list. So whatever that offer is in the ad. That's how we organize it. And then within each campaign, you can have different ad sets. And on the ad set level, it's basically the settings for your ad. So that's where we will indicate the targeting, so the audiences, and then also the placement, and where the ad is going to appear. So that's the settings level.
So would that be kind of like you have a product that's a thermos, and then your ad sets are the different color thermoses?
Your ad sets would be like the different audiences that
Different
you
audience.
are targeting. Yeah. So if you have one offer, so let's say it's the thermos, then that would just be in one campaign.
Okay.
So in your creative though, you might test, different colors of the thermos to see like which one resonates the most and is going to lead to the most sales.
Definitely.
So with that, traditionally we've been able to do ad set level budgeting, and Facebook has said that that's going away. So it's going to be on the campaign level. So my team and I have been testing the campaign budget optimization, which is where we're putting the budget on the campaign level. And then the algorithm allocates the budget down to the different ad sets and ads within the campaign. So we have actually found that using that feature, the campaign budget optimization, that's actually leading to better results at better costs. So we've split tested it a bunch with doing the ad set level budgeting versus the campaign budget optimization. And so our practice now is for new campaigns we're setting them up with campaign budget optimization, which puts more of the work on the algorithm to kind of allocate that budget for you. So that's really good. And it's great that we're getting better costs doing it that way as well. But the reason why I bring that up is because with that change, when you're doing campaign budget optimization, then it can take a little bit longer for the algorithm to learn what's working. And so really you want to give it at least a full week before you start making changes and doing, any adjustments and setting up new tests or anything.
A full week at $5, $15 a day, a full week at $50 a day, or does that matter?
Yeah. So it would depend on, how many different audiences you're targeting, then how many different versions of the ad, then you would determine your budget based on that. And so let's say I'm doing one version of the ad at, 3 different audiences and I'm driving traffic to my blog post, then that would be $15 a day. On the campaign level. And so, so I would just set it up, let it run, and just know that usually our costs start higher. And then over, the next few days, you'll begin to see them decrease as the algorithm is learning who to show the ad to.
Okay. Anything else on spend that you would add that people should be aware of?
So with campaign budget optimization, Facebook has told me that when you adjust your budget, you should not adjust it more than 20% every 7 days. So so up or down, because then that'll kick it back into learning mode, which is where the algorithm is trying to figure out, what's working, who to show the ads to, which ads, which age groups and all of that. It will kick it back into learning mode. So that's our practice, to not adjust budgets up or down 20%. If you have a limited time promotion, like we just had Black Friday. So if you have a limited time promotion and you want to scale up quickly, then kick that rule out the window. But for most cases, if you have an evergreen offer, then I would pay attention to that 20% rule.
Okay. What about reporting? The part that I hate the most about these different ads is you spent this money, you now need to make sense, or I guess tell the story with the data that's there.
Yes.
What are some tips you would give someone? How about this? Some tips for somebody that's attempting to do this themselves.
Okay.
What's the most important stuff to look at?
So I like to look, there's a button in the ads manager. Once you have some data there, it says view charts. And so that's what I like to look at. And I like to look at the lifetime view of the campaign. So then I can see, and if you hover over the chart day by day, it'll show you how your cost per result changes and your number of results. So the results, if it's a video that you just want video views on, it'll show you the video views. If you're, driving landing page views, so driving traffic to your blog, then that will be your results that it's reporting, whatever your main metric is. So then you can see how that changes day by day. And then generally that's where you'll see that the cost started higher, but then as the algorithm's learning, the cost drops. And it might not drop in a perfect downward line. It might go up and down a little bit, but generally the trend is going to be that it's dropping. And if it's dropping, then that's a good sign. So if it's continuing to drop, then I generally wouldn't touch it. Unless we think that it's still, even though it's dropping, it's still way higher than we want, then that's when I would be testing a new audience or new ad. So in there, you can also look at the demographics. So if you're targeting, males and females, but females are the ones that are primarily interacting, then with your next test, you might want to only target females. And then also the age groups, like we talked about. I generally like to start broad with like 18 plus, and then narrow in on smaller age groups if I think that that makes sense based on the data that I'm seeing there. So that's the view charts screen. Then you can drill down into the columns in the ads manager and you can see, I like to use the breakdown tab to see the placement. And that's where the ad is appearing. So generally we'll target all placements except for Instagram. We always make our Instagram ads specific to the Instagram ads platform because it is different where, if we say click the learn more button to sign up today because we are promoting, our free lead magnet to grow our email list, then we want it to be, and Facebook, we might say, click the button below. On Instagram, the button is above. So anyway, we just want to make sure that we are being, aware of the platform experience. So we like to test those differently. But anyway, so you can see in the breakdown tab, you can look on placements. There's a whole bunch of different options there. So take a peek at what they are. But I like to look at placements and see what is, what's getting the best conversions for me at the lowest cost. So generally, we see that Facebook newsfeed mobile works really well. But then we might be surprised. Like sometimes audience network works really well, or messenger. So we like to test those different placements, but then we'll keep that in mind again for future iterations, future tests that maybe we'll want to narrow it. Maybe really only Facebook mobile newsfeed is working the best. And maybe we want to just narrow in on that placement. And then the other thing is you can also look at gender there and age groups in that view as well. And if you're targeting different countries, then that's where I would look at the country and see, which countries are converting the best. So you have a lot of different options based on what you're testing, that you can drill down and see what's working. But I wouldn't make too many changes all at once for new tests. Just keep some things in mind, if you're going to narrow the age group and then maybe you target only women, then make sure that your audience size is still a good size, that you're not limiting the algorithm too much. Because when you limit it too much, that's when your costs can increase, even though you think that you're concentrating on what's performing the best.
And these are the basics. I'm trying to cover all the basic questions that I know my group has asked me to give you, and it's insane. Facebook's amazing. Like this is, and you broke it down in a way that like I've never heard it broke down before. Like very simple, easy digestible, but still like the reports. I'm having the visual of the columns and everything, and I'm like, no. Do you have any tools that you recommend that help out? By the way, in regards to like,
have any what?
Any tools?
Any tools? I just use the ads manager. I don't really generally export anything. I mean, sometimes for our clients, we'll break down like the demographics and the age groups so that we can share that information with them. They find that really helpful. But yeah, we just use the ads manager and then we create our own report. So we don't use any tools to like analyze it.
Like I want to be respectful of your time, and this is a lot. I was even thinking of like jumping into Facebook pages, and you mentioned so many different things that I feel like if I even brought it up, it would be a standalone episode in and of itself. Like I said in the beginning, I have no doubt that if you're willing, that you'll definitely be coming on the show a lot
I would love
for
to.
like everything Facebook ads. But before closing this out though, how can people reach out to you? You have some really cool offers going on. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at one of your courses. I was just talking to you beforehand that I'm going to buy. What can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So I am the creator of Flourish with Facebook ads, and it breaks down my step-by-step system for creating campaigns that convert. So everything that we talked about today, I take you through my 6-step process in order to create your high converting campaign. And then also what to test and tweak once you get things going. So we keep that updated. We have a Facebook group that goes along with it, and also group coaching calls every or twice a month. We do those, and that's where we have people jump into the hot seat. So we meet on Zoom, and people can share their screens, and we can dive into their campaigns. So a lot of times, my students will get ads set up, and then they'll say, okay, what are my next steps? How is this going? Tell
Right.
me what you think. And so we will look at their targeting, we'll look at their ads, their ad copy, look at their landing pages. So we get feedback on all of it so that we can help them, make those tweaks to lower their costs. And many of our students who've jumped in the hot seat have cut their costs in half after going through that and getting feedback on their campaigns. But we also have the Facebook group for real time in the moment. I have this that I'm going to set up. What do you think? I want feedback on my offer. I have a question about this. How does this work? Did I place my pixel correctly? What's going on? All those questions that come up.
Right. Bazillion of them. What about experience level required for anyone listening to this? What does somebody, to make the most of this, can they be starting at, air quotes here, zero? Like I've heard of Facebook ads, but I want to start, or is this something that you already have to have your feet wet before?
No, I've gotten really great feedback that it's very, very simply broken down, so that I've had students who have gone through other Facebook ads courses, and they've given me the feedback that going through this program has really broken it down and made it make sense in a way that other courses haven't. So I really appreciate that feedback. But I mean, you can start at zero, like no Facebook ads knowledge, and I will walk you through setting up your pixel and what that even means, and like how to do it. And I will show you every step of the way, and I will hold your hand and just make sure you're asking questions in the Facebook group, jumping on the group coaching calls. We'll dive into your hot seat, and everybody gets their questions answered. There's nobody that's like, we never have a problem getting to everybody to make sure that they are getting the help that they need. I put together this program and the coaching program along with it, because this is the feedback and support that I wish I had when I was starting out with Facebook ads. I mean, I learned Facebook ads, and then I just hit go, and I was like, I hope it works. I don't know if this is good, if it's going to work the way I want it to. Yes, I remember all those feelings. And so I really want to help you get the feedback and the support, and so that you can know that you are, setting yourself up for success, and then also tweaking things to help you lower those costs even more. So that's why I put together the program in the way that I did.
Yeah, I totally agree with the feedback you got, by the way. Just on this podcast, what I was saying a second ago, you broke it down in a way. It reminded me of, I don't know, do you read books much?
I love books.
Okay, good. Then I get to ask you my question at the end about favorite book. Prepare for it. But
Okay.
like marketing, I'm a marketing geek, and there was a book, oh God, .com Secrets, Expert
Yes.
Secrets by Russell Brunson. I loved them.
Yes.
I felt that everything that was talked about there, like it wasn't invented by Russell Brunson. It was just, he got tried and true, workable tactics and broke them down in a way that a 2-year-old could understand, but they were advanced tactics.
Yeah.
And to me, listening to you on this podcast, that's what I felt like, that you got some advanced topics, or topics that most people just get stuck on. I mean, a pixel, and like, what language is this? And you were able to break it down in a way that I feel like a 2-year-old could understand. So the feedback that you received on the course, like, I can totally see that. Good stuff. Now, the book. What's your favorite book and why? I try to ask this of everyone that's on the show. And I was supposed to give you like warning before the show, like, hey, this question's coming. But like, since you are a reader, this should be fairly easy. What's your favorite book and why?
Okay. Well, I have lots of favorite books. I love to read. The one that comes to mind that's made the biggest impact this year, though, is The 12-Week Year. And that, so I love to plan. I love to plan. I'm such a planner. But this book helped me not only plan, but it also helps me make my plan actionable. And so the idea is that you take your yearly goals, because I'm a big dreamer, big goal setter. I love setting goals. But you break it down into 12-week years, otherwise known as quarters approximately. And so that you're focused on, this 12-week year period, and what are your goals for this period of time? And then how do you break it down weekly and make it really actionable? What are the things that you're committing to doing each week? So my team and I have implemented this, and we are sharing our scorecards that we created. That's an idea from the book, to create your scorecard of what you're committing to doing this week to help you achieve your goals for the 12-week year. And so we share that, and we hold each other accountable. And we've made more progress this year than I could have ever imagined by following this process.
Wow. So you're getting your entire year's goals that you've created and you're condensing them into one quarter. Am I getting that? Or are you creating a quarter's worth of goals?
Yeah.
Four of them per year.
Yeah. So what we looked at is we looked at our entire year, what do we want to achieve for the year? And then what do we want to do each quarter? Like, what are the major projects that we're going to work on each quarter that are going to help us get there? And then you break it down even further into the week by week. And so that's really helped us with our focus too, because, as entrepreneurs, there's a lot of things, a lot of opportunities that come up, and ideas and great ideas. Like, oh, we could do this. But that's helped us really focus that, like, okay, well, we know our focus right now for this 12-week year. And so let's table that when we plan for the next 12-week year. Let's see if that idea might make sense for that 12-week year, that quarter, or for a future quarter down the road. So it's just helped us focus rather than be like, oh yes, that's a great idea, let's do it. And then we're like, pivoting every direction and not making forward progress on the things that we said initially.
I love it. You know the author's name?
Priorities.
12 weeks. It's okay if you don't. I'll totally look it up.
I've got it right over there. I can't read it. I'm totally blanking, but anyway.
No, that's fine. 12-week year, easy to look up. I'm actually going to order it. Hopefully it's available on Audible, because with the baby being born in like no time. So
yeah, no, I'm sure it is. It's a great book.
Best way somebody can reach you.
Yes. Okay. So to break all of this down that we talked about today, I have my free Facebook Ad Starter Kit. So the course, if you're interested, you're ready to go, I'm committed, I'm going to make this happen, you can find that at monicalouie.com/flourish. And I'd love to offer your audience $50 off with the code Carlos50, if that's okay with you. But the Facebook Ad Starter Kit helps you get started in breaking down the 6 simple steps. So I take you through what those steps are. There's a glossary. So if it's all brand new to you and you're like, I don't know what those terms mean, I've got the glossary. So then you can, understand what we're talking about. And then there's also checklists, because as I said, I'm a planner. I love being organized. So we got a checklist to help you create your ads plan, so you're ready to go when you enter the ads manager. So that you can find at monicalouie.com/Carlos.
Okay. And, so that's the best way to reach you, is via the website, or is there?
Well, yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Okay. So yeah, I'm Flourish with Monica, at Flourish with Monica on Instagram and Facebook.
All right, Monica, thank you so much for your time. It truly was amazing. I look forward to having you back on the show, and I look forward to diving through your course. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Liked what you heard and want to stay connected? Join our Facebook group or find me anywhere on social media at Wizards of Amazon, or text the word Amazon to 69922.